You are Locked On Celtics Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Boston, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, that was ugly, and to a certain degree, you can almost say as expected. Celtics, 4-game win streak, feeling good about going 3-0 on the just completed road trip. All that out the window for this night as they return home. I've said it once, I've said it before, and others have said it as well. Beware of that first game back at home after a road trip. And I'm sorry, but the Celtics embarrassed by the shorthanded Dallas Mavericks. We do welcome you to the latest Locked On Celtics postcast. I'm Steve Lennox, longtime college hoops play-by-play announcer, former show host, satellite radio, and ESPN radio. You're right where you need to be. You are locked on with the latest Locked On Celtics postcast, providing reaction to every Celtics game on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, as well as the Locked On Celtics podcast feed, which you know is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. With our latest Locked On Celtics postcast, we're going to discuss the Celtics coming home tonight. And they didn't get blown out by the Dallas Mavericks, but I think they did get embarrassed by the Dallas Mavericks. No Luka, no new guy in Anthony Davis. Kyrie got a win in Boston. Those have been few and far between. The number of the night that we give you usually in segment number 3, we'll give it to you right now. 1. A 1-point lead, 3 lead changes. And that 1-point lead came in the first quarter. Celtics never led by more than 1, never led after the first quarter. We do want to hear from you. Our everydayers and our first-timers don't mince words. I don't like this loss at all. Join the conversation. Watching live on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, hit that comment button and join the Celtics conversation. Subscribe to the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Tell your friends about us. Also follow on the X, formerly known as Twitter, at Lennox on Hoops. This episode of the Locked On Celtics postcast brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there is no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. So, truth be told, had a game tonight myself. Little ESPN Plus, Quinnipiac, Canisius, Bobcats win at home in Hamden, Connecticut. That was my good news for the night. Get in the car. Halftime is over. I snuck a peek every once in a while in the first half and saw that the Mavericks were up big. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, down 26 against the Sixers, came back and won that game. That was 2 games ago. Did not happen. Got down to 7 in the fourth quarter. Put up, 37 points in the fourth quarter? I wasn't impressed by the Celtics making it a 7-point game at the end. I wasn't impressed by that. Third quarter in the car, Sean Grande, Cedric Cornbread Maxwell, 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston. Fourth quarter, TNT, Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller. And we'll get to your comments sooner rather than later here in segment number 1. Because, again, didn't really watch the first half except scoreboard watching and see that the Mavericks had a big lead. Mavericks were up 32-23 after 1. Added to that lead. Outscored the Celtics 35-33 in the second quarter. I mean, Tatum, 28-plus minutes. 5 of 12 from the field. Knocked down 3 threes. Celtics had 16 threes for the game. No Jrue Holiday. No Jaden Springer. We'll talk about the new addition to the Celtics coming up in segment number 2. Want to hear your thoughts on Torrey Craig as well. But Springer goes in a trade to the Houston Rockets, and you kind of had a feeling it was going to be something out on that market. Levine going from Chicago to Sacramento. Torrey Craig comes to the Celtics. That's about the move that you were expecting. Can he help? Absolutely. But we'll get into that in segment number 2. But I just hate this loss for the Celtics. I really do. But again, it's one of those games in the NBA where you just, it's tongue-in-cheek. You mince words and beware, back home after a road trip. Family, friends, distractions, all those different things. The Celtics, the fourth quarter I'm watching on TNT, and I'm like, do they have it in them? And all of a sudden the Mavericks hit a shot. Whether it was Dinwiddie or Kyrie, it didn't matter. Exum. They hit shots. Now the Celtics had some guys in there. Joe Mazzulla said, okay, let's go. Stay ready, group. Let's go. But this is just an embarrassing loss. Everything that the Mavericks have been through in the last handful of days since last weekend when Luka Doncic was traded, you split the series with the Mavericks on the season. Klay Thompson. It was like Klay Thompson of 5 years ago. Did anyone want to stop Klay Thompson? 3 threes, 11 of 17 from the field, and 25 points for Klay Thompson. This isn't Klay Thompson of 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's just not. He had 15 of his 25 in the second half. Kessler Edwards. How many people are familiar with Kessler Edwards? And this is no knock on him, but he was in the starting lineup. Took one shot, made it. Made a free throw attempt. 3 points total. Gafford, a lot of people like. He had 8 points. Had 15 rebounds. Couldn't keep him off the boards. Kyrie Irving, 7 of 17. Dante Exum, 5 of 8, then off the bench. Spencer Dinwiddie, 7 of 10. 3 threes. Max Christie in the trade, 6 of 13. Najee Marshall, 9 of 15. Those 3 guys on the bench, Dinwiddie, 22. Christie, 15. He's going to fit nicely in with Jason Kidd and the Mavericks, and 20 for Najee Marshall. Mavericks, 46% on threes, 15 of 33. The Celtics, 13 of 37. 12 three-point attempts below their season average of 48-49. Let's just get to you because, again, I didn't see all the first half. If I were there for the first half, I've said this before, I would have turned my TV off, but obligated, committed to this, the Locked On Celtics postcast. Just a bad loss after you go 3-0 on the road trip. You entered on a 4-game win streak. Paul checking in. Tatum was not in the game, and it's disappointing. And those games have to be few and far between for the star of the team. Tatum was, you can't be locked in the way you were with the Cavaliers 2 nights ago and then come home and do that. And Paul, you're on. It's unacceptable from your superstar. That's what makes the greats great. And if you want to knock on Tatum, that's part of it. Come out and, again, just pedal to the metal. There are no nights off. This is the defending championship team, and this loss for me, no good. No bueno. Rain. Without AD and lost to this Mavs team, I'm hurt. You're going to get all the cliche answers after this game is over. They're probably already, within minutes of being there. Kevin Harlan said at the end, Joe Mazzulla can be upset here, but, it's move on. It's go to New York and play the Knicks in 2 nights. It's been for the Celtics for a while now, every other night. They haven't had many stretches here in the last handful of weeks. It's been every other night. There hasn't been time to breathe here. You get to the All-Star break next Wednesday home against the Spurs. You've got the Knicks, Bulls, and Spurs away, home before the All-Star break. You got the 21 games over 500. I said 3-1, but I thought the Mavericks, this should have been a victory, but I'm not surprised that the Mavericks are rolling out of Boston with a win. Just not. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Paul, wish the deep bench would have had the chance to play earlier. And Paul, to that point, with that Sixers game, Joe Mazzulla basically challenged the team halftime, third quarter. Hey, if I'm seeing it's not our night, I'm going. And the players responded. So when I saw, okay, it's going to, you should be able to come back against the Dallas Mavericks. Didn't happen until late. And again, a 7-point game, you've heard broadcasters say it before. It really wasn't that close. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Not at all. I mean, you're down 20. You're down in the third quarter by 21. And again, got in the car, Grandy, Cornbread Maxwell, and thinking, okay, there's going to be a run here. Just get it to 10. Then get it to single digits. Did not happen. The Mavericks responded in the fourth quarter, at least at the start. They had a 27-point lead in that fourth quarter. At that point, you're sort of like, nah, if this was in the third quarter, okay. But they were up 27 in the fourth quarter. Took 20 points off it, and the Celtics, they had a run where the fans got into it, a 14-0 run, got it to 13. Najee Marshall hit a big 3. Hauser then hit a 3. And again, it was 13, but couldn't get that closer. Mavericks had a shot clock violation. Cada had a dunk 19-3 run. You're thinking, okay, maybe. And the crowd into it. Defense on one end, cheering on the other end. And then you did hear boos. And I don't, there's, if a player tonight says, well, they shouldn't really boo us right now. Sorry, you were deserving. Present day, fans are going to boo in the home arena if the effort wasn't there. And don't think the effort was completely there against the Dallas Mavericks team. I'm not going to say in turmoil. They had lost 3 in a row entering the game. In flux a little bit. Was Anthony Davis going to play? Questionable. Not in the lineup, but his quotes basically saying Celtics Thursday, if not Celtics, Houston over the weekend. So many opinions on the Doncic trade, but the Mavericks may end up working this out to their benefit. I don't know that they get back to the NBA Finals. To that point, after we went off 2 nights ago in the victory against the Cavaliers and everything is right in the world, there was a comment and a question from Michael Austin. If you're with us, keep the comments coming. Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, hit the comment button. Michael asked, and I didn't refer to it, but Michael asked, do you think Boston can catch Cleveland? 2 nights ago, I did. Cleveland, Darius Garland, game winner, and they made a deal. DeAndre Hunter, that's a pickup for the Cavaliers. But we knew the Celtics, in terms of where they're at with the cap, in terms of where they're at with the luxury tax, in the terms of paying for a championship for years to come, from the 23-24 NBA season, you've got a big tab there. So Springer gets traded, gets moved to Houston. They free up that little money. They save some money being under that, a certain number. I think it's, $15+ million. That's not a small number. We throw the numbers around in the NBA and professional sports, and we're desensitized to the numbers. $15 million to save that's a big deal. Fat Men Olympics. Only reason it wasn't a blowout was because the bench kept going after the starters were subbed out. Love that. I love it too, but you know what there? Fat Men Olympics. I like that handle. That's a good handle. They show that, if Springer 24 hours, think if Springer was in that lineup off the bench, that's where the defense came in. I think the Celtics hit 2 threes. Hauser hit one of them, and it was a 2 and a 3. But the Mavericks had hit a 3 during a stretch in that fourth quarter. They just weren't able to get stops as well. Now they outscored the Mavericks in the fourth quarter, 37-23. So they took 14 points off that. But to lose by 7, they can score, but that group and having 5 of those guys, I don't know that I apologize. I don't know if it was all 5. I heard Tatum's name in there in the end, trying to get ready for this. And, you needed stops there too. So if you could have called a timeout and almost gone 5 for 5 and, okay, you guys are on the defensive end, we'll leave the, stay ready group in there going forward on the offensive end. But, they just didn't get enough stops as well. You're down that many points. Yes, you've got to score on when you've got possession, but you've got to get stops too. And they didn't get enough stops to get that single digits. And it would have been, I was curious. I was thinking to myself, okay, they get this down 7-8 points. There's still a handful of minutes on the clock. Does Joe Mazzulla truly send a message and say, you know what? You guys are staying right there. We'll win or lose with this group on the floor because you got us down 27 points. Tough loss. You move on. But again, 4-game win streak is over. 1-1 against the Mavericks this year. Now 16-10 at home with the loss. Great road record. Best in the NBA. But you now have 10 home losses on the season. 26 games, 14. You got 15 home games left. You've got 30 games left in the regular season now. Tough one. Let's talk Torrey Craig. What do you think of the move? What is he going to be able to bring? He's not going to break the starting lineup. We know that. But Springer gone, solid young player, defensive-minded. Now you bring in a veteran who does have playoff experience in Torrey Craig. That move was almost instant. We discuss that next. Locked On Celtics postcast. Celtics lose at home by 7 to the Dallas Mavericks. But you know what? The announcer in me has to tell you it wasn't that close. You know it, and I know it. Glad you're with us. Locked on Celtics postcast, Locked on Sports Boston, your team every day, presented by Prize Picks. Basketball season heating up. No better way to get on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions in awarded winnings, Prize Picks makes it easy and fun to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Here's how it works. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players' projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Prize Picks even has a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw 1 yard to win. Pair that with one more correct pick, and you're cashing out. Looking at the board, maybe you're thinking for an upcoming Celtics game, maybe you're thinking more for Jason Tatum on points and more for Luka Doncic on assists as he's preparing to make his Lakers debut. The best part, Prize Picks keeps it simple. You can set your lineup in less than 60 seconds, and their fast, secure withdrawals means you get paid quickly when you win. Plus, their Taco Tuesday promo gives you discounted player projections for even more value. Check out the promos tab to tail any of the Super Bowl Sweet Millie winners' big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can earn a split and win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, thoughts on Torrey Craig joining the Celtics here in just a moment. Back to your comments on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Glad you're with us. Again, subscribe to the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. You'll get the Locked On Celtics postcast each game. You'll get as well Locked On Red Sox. Perfect time to start thinking about spring training. I'll be with you as soon as the regular season gets underway for Major League Baseball with Locked On Red Sox throughout the course of the Major League Baseball regular season. We got this underway with Locked On Sports Boston on the YouTube side, Locked On Celtics podcast feed. Also, John Corrales will have reaction as well. You can look for that first thing tomorrow morning when you wake up on Friday. But we started the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel with the Red Sox last June. And back to the point made earlier, just getting to where it was up from the other day from Michael. Hey, can the Celtics catch the Cavaliers? Yes, I do believe they can. Absolutely. But I'm also the guy sort of cautioning you with this. I'm the guy who also thought into late September that the Red Sox should have been a playoff team in the American League last summer and last fall. I'm not always a positive guy. I'm realistic. But, yeah, the Celtics should be the number 1 seed. I don't want them to be in the number 3 seed in the East. And with that, the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, just the second meeting of the regular season between the Celtics and the Knicks. Must win? Yeah, you want to go 2-0 against the Knicks on the season. Back to the comments. Aiden, I just don't understand why the starters didn't come back in when they were down by 11 with 3 minutes to go. Aiden, just one of those games, and that's a Joe Mazzulla feel. And I said it right at the end of segment number 1. Those guys pretty much are the reason you were down by 27 in the fourth quarter. And I did say I would be curious if they got it. You say they got it to 11. Okay, 11 with 3 to go. No. Keep those guys that got it to 11 out there. They ended up getting it to 7, but again, didn't get enough stops from 6 minutes on in the fourth quarter. You've got to send a message. And if they don't like it, that's tough on them. I'm sorry. Joe Mazzulla's got all the credit in the world for me right now. He's the one that's got to push the buttons. If you're down 27 at home in the fourth quarter against a team that is not playing with a full roster, they've had injuries, they've just had, maybe the biggest NBA trade in NBA history, still trying to figure it out. You do get Anthony Davis, who's older than Luka Doncic. Well, Anthony Davis, he's injury prone. So is Luka Doncic. Part of the reason the Mavericks wanted to get rid of him and not pay him the Supermax this upcoming summer. The warts that exist with the Celtics right now, Dallas understood the warts with Luka Doncic, did not want that long term. That's the NBA. We're going to see this again. Are they going to be able to keep it under wraps the way they did and just everyone Everyone out there have no idea that this was in the works. I mean, read some of the stories about Doncic to the Lakers. Torrey Craig is now a member of the Celtics. Free agent signing. Leaves the Chicago Bulls, waived by the Bulls earlier this week. Celtics are able to pick him up. I do like it. I do. I mean, what the Cavaliers did in terms of being able to better themselves, I didn't look at the whole trade. But with the trade, DeAndre Hunter coming from Atlanta, going to Cleveland, isn't that an interesting one? Karis LeVert and George Niang. For the Cavaliers, when I saw those two guys fit in real nice with the Cavaliers. And I feel, I don't want to say I feel bad for LeVert and George Niang, but man, you're going from Cleveland, the top team in the East, to the Atlanta Hawks. Woo. The Cavaliers, I think, got better. The Celtics didn't. I mean, the Celtics weren't going out there. They don't have the flexibility, the ability with the way things are set up. Michael checking in. 10 losses at home, unacceptable. Agree 100%, Michael. Thank you. I can't figure this team out. You're starting to get with 30 games left in the season. And yeah, there was a lull. You were 500 through about a 20-game stretch. But still with that, you never lost 2 in a row. You've only lost 2 in a row one time this season. This team has not had a 3-game losing streak. You can't show up for 48 minutes against the Cavaliers on the road 2 nights ago, then come home and just act like you're going through the motions or tired. As Michael also checks in, Tatum looks tired. No one's going to feel bad for him. The elite of the elite. You're paid like the elite of the elite. You need to come home after a 3-0 road trip on a 4-game win streak, and you need to go out and have a great game. Did not happen for the Celtics at all. That man Olympics. I have my hopes that this team bounces back after the All-Star break. Has been the trend the last few seasons or so, don't you think? Hey, you've got to turn the light on, and the light's got to stay on. And I thought with the 4-game win streak and the perfect road trip, the light was on and it was going to stay on. If you think it's going to happen after the All-Star break, 30 games now left in the regular season, which wraps up in April. So again, you're playing almost every other day. You've got the All-Star break coming up. But from the Mavericks to the Knicks to the Bulls to the Spurs, you're going to face De'Aaron Fox next week when San Antonio comes to town, as long as he's healthy. I don't want 2-2. Right now you're 0-1. I don't want 2-2. So you got to win twice on the road, come back home and win against San Antonio, which that's going to be a tough one, just in the sense of the bags are going to be packed. You're going to be looking ahead. Oh, we don't want to look ahead. We're focused right now on the Knicks on Saturday. Next week, the bags are packed. They're ready to go, and they're ready to be on an All-Star break. So that game against San Antonio, do not limp into the All-Star break. Do not limp into the All-Star break, and I think it's absolutely on the table right now for the Celtics. I'm sorry. I was saying I've got to correct myself, and I thought, okay, I've got to put this together. Knicks Saturday, Miami against the Heat on Monday, not Chicago. I had Chicago. I thought I was worried about that. Miami on Monday. And again, Heat, box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get, right? You just never know what you're going to get. And, Miami, Butler's gone. Addition by subtraction for Miami. I'm curious to see what the Heat do in the coming weeks. I really am. And Wiggins? How about Andrew Wiggins? My guy, Pete Vesey, mentor. Pete Vesey, long time. You don't know the name Pete Vesey? You should if you're an NBA fan. And Pete basically saying, I don't, on social media, on the X, I don't get Steve Kerr singing the praises of Andrew Wiggins, and yet Andrew Wiggins is out the door. And he's going to Miami. You lose to the Mavericks. The Knicks have been winning lately. And then you go to Miami, and you've got Andrew Wiggins in town. Andrew Wiggins, again, Addition by subtraction with Butler. Bye-bye. And I read over the last, before the trade deadline earlier on Thursday that Miami Heat players off the record were saying, hey, if he's still a member of this organization after the trade deadline, we'll welcome him back. Butler got his. Was it well executed? Was it well played out? Absolutely not. Celtics 4-game win streak comes to an end. Mavericks avoid a 4th straight loss as they pick up the win in Boston against the Celtics on Thursday night. More of your comments and numbers of the night. That's coming up next. Locked On Sports, Locked On Celtics postcast. And we are presented by FanDuel. You know what comes Sunday, Super Bowl 59. It is here. 1 game, 2 teams, Eagles, Chiefs, endless possibilities. No better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy for you to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that, as they say, is icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you are going to score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. I work with Eagle fans. Quinnipiac head basketball coach on the women's side at the Division I level, also an Eagles fan. Fans in the stands Thursday night in Hamden, Connecticut. Boy, a lot of green and a lot of Eagle fans. Go figure. Super Bowl 59 coming on Sunday. As always, tip of the cap to our sponsors, Prize Picks and FanDuel. Keep the comments button if you're with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Always encourage and always appreciate the participation that we get on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Fat Man Olympics. I have my hopes. Okay, we got to that one. Paul checking in. Pritchard looked good in the end. Yeah, it's in the end of a blowout game. So, yeah, maybe that gets him going. I mean, think about with Payton Pritchard right now. And there have been a bunch of national broadcasts, and they sort of gloss over it, but they don't make the case for Payton Pritchard 6th man of the year. When was the last time you heard, hey, Payton Pritchard, leading candidate or in the mix in consideration for 6th man of the year? That's really fallen off. But Pritchard on the night, yeah, he had a good game overall. 4th quarter, knocked down 7 shots, including 2 threes. Had 16 in the 4th quarter. Big part of turning that into a 7-point loss for the Celtics. But I mean, Payton Pritchard's not leaving TD Garden Thursday night saying, hey, I had a great game. No. Celtics lost, and they lost badly. He was 9 of 15 overall, 21 points. Jaylen Brown, 25. Tatum, I'm sorry, but I mean, the 30-point games for Tatum have been few and far between. Again, great effort, both ends of the floor 2 nights ago. But he had 17. Brown, 25 and 5, 2 assists. Pritchard, the 21 points off the bench, also had 6 assists and 6 rebounds. Cornette, kind of giving you a Cornette night, but he was minus 20. He had 5 rebounds, 7 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists from Cornette. 30 assists for that comes to an end as we get into numbers of the night. Celtics, 30 assists. Had been 15-0 this season with 30 or more assists. And I've said recently, that's the number I want to see better. And they turn in 30 assists, and they lose for the first time this season. In fact, there it is. Dick Leip, who does the stats on NBC Sports Boston with Jrue Carter and Brian Scalabrine. And I like the national broadcast on occasion. I wanted Jrue Carter, Brian Scalabrine in the 4th quarter as I'm driving home and listening to the Celtics game on 98.5, the Sports Hub, as the Mavericks are blowing out the Celtics in the 3rd quarter. I wanted to hear from Jrue Carter and Brian Scalabrine, and I thought to myself, I'm going home to a TNT broadcast. So I believe I have this right. Numbers of the night here in segment number 3 from Dick Leip. Again, if you don't know Dick Leip, he does the stats for the TV side for the Celtics. 29 straight games dating back to last season where the Celtics 29-0, 30 or more assists. Again, dating back to the last season. Last loss, I do have this. And again, this is from Dick Leip, giving you where my source is from. The last loss, February 1, 2024, against the Lakers. So 29 straight games, 30 or more assists, 29 victories. That comes to an end. That's your number of the night. Boy, I'm glad I picked that up because sometimes I don't. I want to kick myself after the game is over and as I'm getting ready for the next game. But 30 assists. But yeah, the turnover number was high, 14. And you've got to take care of the basketball. Points off turnovers, just looking for it here. Not sure where I'm going to find it. Points in the paint, second chance points, points off turnovers. Celtics, was that the full game? Yeah, 14. Points off turnovers. Celtics 14. Nope. Mavericks 16-14 in that category. But the Mavericks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players in double figures, 2 at 20 or more off the bench. 22 for Dinwiddie, Najee Marshall, 20 points. Kyrie, again, a rare victory for Kyrie Irving at TD Garden. He was on the TNT broadcast for the postgame interview, and he even made light of it as well. Klay Thompson, the fountain of youth, 11 of 17 from the field and 25 points. So I've sort of talked about what's next for the Celtics. 3 more before the All-Star break. And you don't want to be limping into this All-Star break. You just don't. Is the number 1 seed important? Yeah, because the number 1 seed comes down to home court advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals if it's 1 versus 2. That's the breakdown. Can you go in and win a big game on the road when you're down in the series, late in the series against the Cavaliers? You can. A lot of people in the last 24 hours or so saying, Celtics are still the number 1 team in the East, even though right now the number 1 team in the East is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Didn't really get into Torrey Craig too much, but again, he's got playoff experience. He's another guy that's going to come off the bench. He's not breaking the starting lineup. But they talked about Torrey Craig in terms of what I like about him, and just to wrap up this point on him, he's got playoff experience. He can knock down threes. He's not going to be in your starting lineup. Jrue Holiday looks like he's going to be out for the Knicks game as well on Saturday with that shoulder impingement, and that doesn't seem to want to go away. So Jrue Holiday, All-Star break, get that perhaps as close to 100% as you can. Torrey Craig, ESPN.com story. Craig, 34, playoff experience, 75 postseason games with the Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns over the course of his career. Mike checking in, and I just mentioned Jrue Holiday. The shoulder. It's giving him problems, and maybe he might be down. You might give him the final 3 games before the All-Star break and the All-Star break. How serious that injury is, we might really find out here over the next couple of games. Paul, one more. Tommy Heinsohn said, Hubie made things too complicated. I think Brian is like Hubie. Paul, I'm not understanding that reference. Hubie as in Hubie Brown? Brian is like Hubie. Is that Scalabrini? You think Paul, we're going to close with this. Hubie Brown, one of my all-time favorites. Really, I love the way he analyzed games. Maybe made it too complicated. Maybe that's what you're referring to as well. Hubie Brown, Brian Scalabrine. I like Scal. He does do it differently. He doesn't mince words. He's rooting for the Celtics on broadcast. I have no problem with that. Again, Knicks, Heat, Spurs at home. Next 2 on the road. I wanted 4-0. I'd be happy with 3-1, but now you got to go 3 straight wins after losing to the Mavericks, 127-120. 3 lead changes, the largest lead of the game coming in the first quarter for the Celtics, a 1-point lead, trailed by as many as 27, lost by 7, but I'll close with this. It really wasn't that close. Bye-bye, Dallas. You're going to see the Mavericks again for the 24-25 NBA season. You know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the NBA Finals. I have a hard time believing that's going to be the case. I will take the Celtics making the NBA Finals, not the Mavericks. Tip of the cap, as always, to our sponsors, Prize Picks, FanDuel. Supporting our sponsors like Prize Picks and FanDuel is supporting us with Locked On Sports. As always, a tip of the cap, job well done. Everyone checking in with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Back at it. Hey, prime time against the Knicks, Madison Square Garden Saturday, second meeting of the season between the Knicks and Celtics. Oh, by the way, the Celtics did win the first one. That was way back in October when they rang and raised up the 18th banner, the 18th championship banner in franchise history. Locked On Sports Boston, number one place to hang out after every game. Locked On Sports, your team, your Celtics every day.